Alex, you ready? You ready?
This is going to be another thing to look forward to this weekend, huh?
I'm
It
not.
might
I'm
be a
not
good
ready.
apple picking weekend, you know?
It's definitely a good apple picking weekend. I actually have my nephew's birthday party this weekend.
But that's a good one. Maybe a little
So
costume party?
unfortunately not. I'd love to show up in
Oh,
a costume. I'd
that
show up
might
as
be.
a sad loser. I'd wear a Syracuse hat.
Oh, yikes.
You're watching Domed in Cuse, the quick hit podcast for real Orange fans. If you love Cuse sports, hit like and subscribe.
Welcome back to Domed In. For everybody that watched, the podcast, the film room, thank you for watching that. That was not fun to go through. We're gonna go through here a preview of Georgia Tech. This is gonna be our classic preview episode. We're gonna go ahead and give you a Georgia Tech preview. We're gonna go ahead and give you a four downs, what we want to see from them. And then finally, we're gonna just shout out some of the people that have been commenting on the videos, throwing us stuff on X. So we'll address all that at the end. So stay tuned, like and subscribe. We appreciate all the love we've seen from the Orange fans, Orange community this week. All right, Tav, Georgia Tech preview. So Georgia Tech is not offensively is not a whole lot different than the team we know from last year. Obviously, they still have the same head coach. They still have the same quarterback. They still have the same running back. They have a lot of the same receiving targets. They did lose what's his name, Singleton, right? He's somewhere else now. Yeah. Um, but their offense, as far as offenses go, is pretty elite. Obviously, when looking at it, it's Haynes King at the quarterback position. He obviously dominates in the power run game. They run a lot of counter run, right? So that's everything looks like it's going one way, and the quarterback's going to break the other way. Um, I think that's the kind of thing where you're going to need defensive discipline, right? Like you're going to need to fill your lanes, stay in your lanes, keep your gaps. And then obviously with the way Haynes King runs, you're going to need a tackle because he's not going to go down easy, right? So with him, it's going to be tough for Syracuse. I think it's going to be a tough challenge. We know we've kind of struggled against some of the outside run games, and that's really keeping your lane, keeping your discipline. And that's exactly what this counter run scheme is a lot about, right? It's about getting the defense going one way and then pushing them back the other way. Um, Jamal Haynes, I think he's an excellent running back. I think he's one of the best in the country, in my opinion. He's like a little bowling ball, and he keeps moving his feet. He's the kind of guy who, even when you feel like you stopped him, he somehow got 3-4 yards out of it, right? Like he's really really good. Their offensive line has been really really good this season. I think offensively, Georgia Tech's been one of the best teams in the country this year.
Totally agree. The Hayneses are a problem, right? Like they're a problem in the run game. Going to be tough for us to stop. Honestly, we did a good job last year against this team. Like they poured on some points late against us, but the final score wasn't really indicative of that game, in my opinion. Like we really handled them in that game. They scored a couple times early, and then we kind of shut them down. But the big thing is you got to lay hits on Haynes King, right? Like you got to make him feel it. Like he wants to run. He wants to try and get in between the tackles. Like it's a lot of power, like quarterback powers and funky stuff, right? Like it's not a thing you see every week in college football. You got to make him feel it, though. And it's something I know we've talked about, I think, before with him. He's not a guy who particularly has ever lasted throughout a season, and you can see him wear in individual games, too. Like, he takes hits, it matriculates on him. Like, it's not a particularly sustainable way of play, would you call it,
No, definitely not, but we do have to give him a little credit
He's
because
good.
it's been better this year. He's been smarter
Yeah.
about it this year.
I agree. He has been smarter, and obviously he's getting older, so he's figuring out how to protect himself a little bit. But make no mistake about it. Like he's good, right? This Georgia Tech offense hums with him at quarterback. it's going to be very much an uphill battle for us on the road against this Georgia Tech team.
As far as Georgia Tech goes defensively, I don't think they're as good defensively. I am not a big believer in them, especially when it comes to the passing game. So I'm pulling up some stats right now. Give me a second. But when it comes to their pass defense, it is really not good. And this is one thing we were talking a lot about early in the season when we still had Steve. And I kind of had indicated to you, like, this is the way you can get after this team. And so just to kind of give you an idea, quarterbacks have averaged this season against them an 130 plus passer rating, which is a very, very good passer rating. They've given up, 1,500 passing yards this season. They've got 2 interceptions and given up 10 touchdowns in through the air. So those are not great numbers. But again, Syracuse is not really set up to take advantage of that. Their rushing defense is better. It's not great. They do let up about 4 yards a carry. So, like, again, not a stout defense that you're playing here, and they don't really have playmakers all over the field, right? So, teams that aren't giving the ball away against them, they haven't really turned a ton of teams over. Um, so, if I kind of break down some of the stats that I have in my model, 31st in offense for Georgia Tech, 41st in defense in the country, 19 yards per game, 73 on defense yards per game. Their turnover margin, they're 92 in the country. Offensive third downs, they're 23 in the country. And defensive third downs, they're 54. So, I have them. The defense is okay, but again, they haven't played top tier competition. We can look at their schedule, and I can tell you right now, Colorado has been poor offensively. Then they played Gardner-Webb. They played Clemson, who we ended up beating the next week, right? So we know Clemson offense was struggling at this time. Then they played Temple. They gave up 24 to a Temple team that couldn't move the ball against Oklahoma. They gave up 29 to Wake in a game that they lost. They lost the game to Wake Forest, but the ACC decided not to call offside on them because the ACC wants to have them, go to the playoff because it's good for the ACC. So the ACC cheated to get Georgia Tech this far, which we know. And so they ended up winning the Wake game because the ACC cheated. But again, Robbie Ashford and Wake got 29 points against them. They then played Virginia Tech off of getting their coach fired. They gave up another 20. And then last week they had a pretty impressive win. I got to give them credit against Duke, where they won 27-18. I was not overall impressed with the Duke offense, even when we played them. Like, they played really sound against us, but we did a lot of that to ourselves in that game. So I haven't been that impressed with Georgia Tech's defense, but I also just don't think we're the type of team that's going to take advantage of them.
I wish we were the type of team that could take advantage of that in the slightest right now. Their defense isn't great. It's not very good. Like, if a good team, we would be able to at least exploit it a little bit. Like you said, their best performance, I think, of the year was against that Duke team. That I agree with you. I think Duke is good offensively, but they're not world beaters. Like, they're fine. And like you said, against us, they basically didn't break a sweat really playing us, and that was really more scheme based than anything else. Just everything they ran worked. In a different scenario, like Steve Angeli is the quarterback, I think this is a very fun, competitive football game, right? Like, there's probably a lot of points scored in this game, and it's an up and down, back and forth game. I don't see a way we're going to be able to keep up pace with this Georgia Tech offense with how we've looked on that side of the ball with, honestly, Ricky or whoever we're going to see this week. I'm skeptical we're going to be able to score to keep this competitive.
This is a team where game flow matters against this team, right? And I think that if you are going to beat Georgia Tech, what you have to do is you can't give them a lead. You have to find a way to have a lead in this game, right? So if we look back at Clemson, they were able to take a 13-0 lead against Clemson and hold on. Against Duke, they scored first, and then at halftime it was 10-10, and then Georgia Tech was able to get a lead in the fourth quarter, And once they were able to get that lead, Haynes King was kind of able to put his foot down and just, you know, roll over you, right? So once they were able to do that, similar thing against Colorado, right? Like, so Colorado early in that game, Georgia Tech, well, Colorado actually took a lead in this game. Georgia Tech ends up getting a lead. They traded shots, and then it kind of came to the fourth quarter. Colorado ties the game there, and Georgia Tech is able to win it in the last minute on a Haynes King run. And, obviously Colorado hasn't been the most impressive team since then. So those are kind of the big teams they've played. When they played Wake Forest, they did have to come from behind. Again, Wake Forest went in. At one point in the third quarter was up 20-3. Georgia Tech did a really nice job of coming from behind. Again, the refs cheated Wake Forest out of this game because Wake Forest was up 3 and Georgia Tech had the ball. Wake had the ball. Georgia Tech was clearly offside. The refs didn't call it, and Georgia Tech was able to hit a 2-second field goal with a field goal with 2 seconds to tie the game, and ended up winning it in overtime when Wake Forest went for 2 to try to tie the game, to try to win the game in overtime, and they failed on a 2-point conversion. So that's kind of like the story of Georgia Tech's season. And I know this is going to piss off a lot of Georgia Tech fans and maybe like people who ride for the ACC or whatever. I'm not impressed by Georgia Tech at all. And I think when they play better competition, which they really won't do until they play Georgia, I think they're going to get stomped. I think they're going to get stomped by Georgia. I think if they go to the ACC championship game, they're going to get stomped by Miami. I think that end of the season, they play Pitt too. And, Pitt I didn't think was all that great either. But Pitt, Narduzzi can always cook something up against a team. So I haven't been impressed by Georgia Tech. I know they're undefeated, but they're not the most impressive team to me. There's a lot of weaknesses to take advantage of. I think, as you said, I just don't think this Syracuse team is built to do that.
I agree. We've said it now for a while. We need to start with some momentum. I think we scored 10 points in the first half of the last month, right?
I wasn't expecting you to go with month there.
I think it's the last month.
I think you're right, but I wasn't expecting that.
It's not great. It's not terrific. We have to start this game and put some game pressure on them in this if we want to have any shot at keeping this close.
Totally.
I just love for us to have a nice scripted first drive here. Let's find something that works. I think you've called it out. Let's see something funky. Let's see a trick play. Let's really pull out everything here, right? Which receiver can throw the ball? Let's figure it out. We got to.
We haven't even done end arounds. All right, Tav, 4 downs. Let's get into it.
4 downs.
1st and 10. I'm gonna be QB. Hike. Throw it deep. No, my first down is not to throw it deep. My first down is let's take a lead. I just want to see them take a lead because if we want to win this game, we're going to have to play from in front. We're not going to be built to come from behind against a Georgia Tech team that's going to be geared up to run it down our throat. We know what happened last year. We kind of set their whole season off to a bad start when they came back. They were riding high from that Florida State win that they had overseas, and we were kind of able to take them out early in that season. And they had some high hopes for last season that they didn't achieve, and a big reason was us. We also know that Brent Key hates Fran Brown, and so we know he's going to be looking to get one over on Fran because Fran beat the shit out of him last year. So I expect Georgia Tech to try to get it, run the ball down our throats, try to be the tougher team, like all that bullshit that Brent Key talks. And I think if the Orange have any chance, it's going to be take a lead, make them pass the ball.
Yeah, I think similar to our 10 points scored in the first half of the last month, I don't think we've had a lead the last month either, which is tough to win when you never have a lead.
Let's double that output this week. Let's get 10 points in the first half this week.
Totally. It would just be nice. I think even just for the confidence of the football team, you just can't be behind every second of every game that you play. It just is. It's demoralizing. And You could honestly even feel it last week as soon as they went down 7-0 after that touchdown. Like, it wasn't a super positive vibe on the field from the team, you know? So it'd just be nice psychologically, honestly, to be ahead on the scoreboard for a little while, too.
All right, second down.
I'll rip second down. This week, I need the coaching staff to manage this quarterback situation effectively, like in a way that honestly looks competent out there. Like, I know we're going with Ricky again this week. Fine. Let's give him a real chance, okay, with that. But if it's not working and we go to another guy, it has to be a real legitimate offense that we're running, and he needs to be on the field for series at a time. Like, we have to see what we have in some of these other guys, and like the yanking, the not letting him throw on third down, like basically 2.5 series, and that was it. Like, even with a couple first downs, like no. If we're gonna pull him and we're gonna put Luke in or whoever it is, we've got to have like a legitimate preparation with whoever that person is. Like, I think that was the most frustrating thing from last week, was like, it felt like there was no plan with Luke when we put him in the game. We're coming off a bye week. This wasn't a surprise that we've had an issue at quarterback.
Yeah, that Ricky might struggle.
Totally. And I think you called it out. Like, it felt like there was a caving of fan pressure from the coaching staff, right? Specifically Fran, to put Luke in, and there wasn't a plan to really make that work for Luke, right, when we put him in the game. So
he didn't really want to do because he yanked him so quick, right? So it's like,
right.
Yeah. We were watching that Western Kentucky game last night, obviously. For those that didn't watch, Western Kentucky late had their QB ruled out of the game. They came in with a backup who was a redshirt freshman, and like, they found ways to manufacture plays that got that kid moving the ball down the field. Like, was he the best quarterback ever? No, but he was able to move the ball down the field. And there were certain things, like in overtime, right before they score, the play before they score, they did a nice little play where they had the receiver running, and then he runs to the middle of the formation and then runs back to the side of the formation and basically goes out in the flat. And they gave that receiver just like a little bit of a head start, and he was like a little scat receiver. And then the quarterback just hike, quick pass out to him, 2 yards in the flat, no thinking, just make a little quick pass. Ball gets, first down on a big third down play. Like, it's those kind of things that Ricky is able to do certain things. Like, you cannot tell me, even if we go with Ricky, because that's where we're going, and like, I don't really need to go through the whole we should play somebody else thing, because we're not going to, so whatever. But when we play Ricky, let's do things that he could do, because there are things he can do. He's not just completely useless. And there have to be plays that we have ready for him to do something.
Yeah, I agree with you in part. I do. I just don't think he's consistent enough at anything that you can run stuff. Like, like we were talking about in our film session, dude, like, you got to hit the layups. You have to hit the layups consistently. And like, we're not hitting the layups consistently. Like, that play at the end of the first half to Valori is the one that like just glares out in my mind. It's like, if you can't hit that throw, you're not, that's why our offense cannot score, like, that can't be an interception on that play, or a near interception. So I do agree with you. I mean, there's got to be stuff like, if we're literally not going to trust him at all, let's run 3 plays in the flat and punt. Like, if that's what we have to do, that's what we have to do. But yeah, I just want to see the quarterback situation managed in, like, frankly, an intelligent way.
All right. Third down for me is going to be like defensive line coming off their best game of the year. We need to see that same kind of effort from them again, and they're going to need to create havoc and stay disciplined. I thought that there was more than a few times in that game where the defensive line was able to be really, really disciplined with their gap control. They were able to get into the backfield but not lose contain. The one time we really lost contain was we ran it on a little bit of a blitz, and their quarterback was able to run and get the touchdown on that one play. And that was the one time where our defensive line felt like it lost contain. And I won't even put that all on them, because there was an extra blitzer coming in that situation, right? So I think that's going to be really important. Even when Haynes King is back there to pass, he wants to run. You know what I'm saying? Like he wants to run. And so not losing your lanes, not losing your gap control is going to be very important for us.
Yeah, 100%, dude, 100%. We need the defensive line to play well. They really showed up last week. If they can show up again, maybe we can keep this game competitive again. Because again, they are a run-heavy offense. Like if you can turn Georgia Tech into a passing team, it changes the game. Honestly, like we kind of did that last year. We took away the Haynes and Haynes show, and you turn them into a passing team, and they're suddenly just, frankly, not as efficient in terms of an offense there.
Part of that was, scoring early. Another part of that was having a great QB. Another part of that was, playing solid across the defensive line. And, Fadil Diggs had a good game.
He did.
What do you think about fourth down?
Fourth down could go a couple different directions. We noted turnover margin earlier. I'm going to kind of pivot. Honestly, I just want to see, frankly, continued roster development in this game. I think that's where we are in this season, right? Like, I want to just keep seeing guys further down the depth chart get opportunities to play, right? And like, let's see what we have across the board, right? Like we're seeing it in all kinds of position groups, even more so. Would love to see Emmanuel Ross continue to get some reps and confidence out there. He's looked good the last couple of weeks. Like that's been a bright spot for us.
Totally.
All across the defensive line, there are guys producing, so I think all there is obviously a big spot, but linebacker position too, Gary Bryant, Antoine seem to have solidified kind of those roles, but also like Moultrie Goddard is getting some snaps there. Starting to see some other faces just pop up, which is nice. So I don't know. I kind of want to see other guys play. I'd like to see Tyreek Hill get a little bit of looks on offense too, maybe in the running back position. Like we could use a little bit of juice out of the backfield, dude, in terms of pass catching. Like we really miss Malachi James a lot in terms of that role. So I don't know. That's kind of where I'm at. And that obviously includes the quarterback position. Like I'd love to see just a little bit of what we have, particularly if this starts to get ugly again in the first half.
I feel like Malachi is an underrated name that we don't talk about enough as a guy that we were missing. I think he was probably going to be slated to be a big part of this offense. Definitely a third down type of guy, but also a guy that, especially with, Ricky being in the game, he could have been a guy that we could have used in screens and short passes and safe passes, but still get a little bit of explosion out of, right? And so I think missing Malachi James this season has been actually a really big loss that I don't think we've even talked enough about.
I agree with you. It sucks too because it looked like he changed his body too. He looked bigger this year. Like he looked ready to play at the P4 level.
And in the small instances we saw, he looked good. He looks explosive, dude.
Good. He does. Like it's something we don't have right now.
Yeah,
and I think we miss him. We miss him in that a lot.
And him coming back next year, I think, could be huge for us. So, all right, Tav, final segment of our game review. Let's talk about it. It is going to be our fan call out. I guess we'll start with some of the stuff that we heard in our game review. So, in our live episode, our game review, we had a few comments, mostly from Jeremy Jenners. 5150. First of all, he said, awesome that I met my wife there. So thanks, Jeremy. And his son's first game will be next year. He'll be 4 and he's going to take him to multiple. And he's very, very excited. So, Jeremy, good luck going to the games with your son. I hope he really enjoys it. And I hope he sees a better product than what we've seen this year.
Yeah, wait till Steve comes back,
He also said, are you guys planning on coming to homecoming next year? I'd like to run into you fellas. Always love to get a game with people who are actually serious fans. And he said that they went to the Dome for a nearby event. His son saw it and he said, Dad, wow, is that the stadium? And then they walked over to check it out and they got to go inside. And that was a really cool moment for him. Jeremy, we would love to. We're definitely going to be coming back to Syracuse. We'd love to see you and interview you and your son after the game. and especially if we could be there when he does his first one. We can't promise exactly when we're going to go based on our schedules at this point. But when we do know when we're going to go, we're going to let people know as early as possible. I think one game that we are spotlighting for basketball season is February 21st versus UNC. So if you're around, if people are around then, anybody's around, we're definitely going to want to be interviewing people after that game. So, but great to hear all that from you, Jeremy. Finally, he was saying, what an idiotic game. Just head scratching decisions by Fran. He feels like, why is Luke playing if you didn't start him? Because we have 2 weeks of practice where he could have prepared to be the starter. I think that's a great call out. And he wanted to see Luke start versus BC and North Carolina, but keep his red shirt and just let Collins build some film for his next school. So those are all very fair points by Jeremy. Again, Jeremy, we hope when you get your son to the game, you have a great time. We'd love to see you up there. When we do make it up there, we'll let you know when we're going up. We'd love to get you in the post-game interview. And then as far as your stuff about Luke, I couldn't agree more. If you were going to play him, you should have just started him. You had the 2 weeks to prepare. You should have had a better game plan.
Yeah. This was the week to game plan something for him, You had 2 weeks to do it.
Totally. Another classic YouTube commenter who's been all over, Chris Germain. So first of all, he gave us a shout out. Great podcast. Thank you, Chris. And then on the film review, he commented just today, defense, best game of the year so far. Couldn't agree more, Chris. Coaching, brutal. QB play, brutal. ACC reps, about right. Chris, chef's kiss. Chef's kiss on that comment. That is, And then he said, we got to get lucky on one of these deep throws eventually, right? Let's hope so, Chris. Let's hope so.
It wasn't looking that way. It was close your eyes and toss it downfield sort of territory at a certain point in that game.
Dark.
Tab,
do you have anybody else we want to shout out?
Only thing else, I think, shout out the Syracuse Twitter burnerverse showing support for Domed In. We love it. We appreciate all this. Obviously, we're just kind of two guys who, obviously, we've just kind of started doing this year on the side. We're huge fans, just enjoy talking about the school program. It really does mean a lot to get any support for this. I don't think we anticipated, honestly, getting any this year, so it does mean a lot when anybody interacts, comments, engages with us. We really do want to build a community here around Cuse Sports, and it does mean a lot with all these contributions from folks.
And it isn't a community without you guys, right? So I think one of the things that we got asked on X2, right, is, are we going to have live guests? I don't know if we're ever going to have live guests on the show, but I think one thing we did talk about when we went up to Cuse was we want to do some spaces, right? So we want to have some spaces where we can maybe make it easier for us to interact with everybody. And we know we have a following on X where a lot of you guys are excited about what we're doing, and you guys are jumping in, and I think there's a great community on Syracuse. And so we want to interact with you guys, and I think spaces is going to be the way that we're probably going to be able to do that, at least in the beginning, because we're not really a radio show that's set up to take people's calls and stuff. But for now, we'd love to hear you when we do start up our spaces. And the other thing is, like Tav said, I just want to say, couldn't appreciate the support more, because it's been awesome. And like Tav said, we want to build a community, but there's no community without getting engagement from all the other fans that are just like us, right? That are out there that want to talk Syracuse football. We want to hear from you. So we're going to continue to try to find the best ways that we can interact with you guys, whether that's on X, whether that's on TikTok, whether that's, commenting with you guys in YouTube. We're going to try to do it every single way we can. So thanks again, everybody, for the support.
100%.